It's a sad day here for Maine. We're right now at Mollison Way, so this road completely blocked off right now. This is where the first shooting took place, the bowling alley right up this road. You can't really see it from here, but you can see it's blocked off, a lot of police presence. It's actually turning into quite a nice evening here in Hampton. The sun just started to come out, nothing compared to what we saw earlier, but we're on Riverview Terrace. This road is low-lying, and you can see they're still dealing with some of the water in the roadway. Some of the people here are still undecided voters that feel it's important to hear from every candidate. Well, it's on our phones, it's on our computers, and some of you are probably on it right now. Social media has become ingrained in our day-to-day lives, and while these sites are meant to connect us, they can be dangerous, and lawmakers want the people behind them to do something about it. My buddy Clarence here will be spending the night indoors because of the weather. The next 5 days, more police will be out on the roads patrolling. You can see here along 125 in Epping, they are already out. $40. That's what court paperwork says led Adrian Demers to stabbing his relative multiple times over the weekend. Well, the prosecution says Mauricio Guerrero followed the alleged victim on her OnlyFans account. They say that he went from being a fan to a fanatic. But the defense says that he didn't know he was only a client after their contact moved off of the website and into a more personal relationship. A star on the court and off one, Duncan Robinson, has deep roots here in New Hampshire. And Captain Eastman says the best way to scare the bears away is by banging pots or pans or anything that will make a loud noise. There's no secret there's a housing shortage in New Hampshire, but a new Dover community hopes to change that. Their answer, tiny homes. Now, the Kittery town manager did confirm late this afternoon that the owners of the hotel had applied for a demolition permit. She couldn't comment more on why, when, or the status of that permit. Well, for anyone planning to come to the Seacoast this weekend, I recommend two things: an empty belly and a good pair of earplugs. And as for when roads will stop looking like this and get back to normal, the DOT says they hope to have things back up and running in the next couple weeks. Cheerleading program at Londonderry High School is shut down for at least the next 2 weeks because of those allegations. First off, 101 is completely closed down. Police have shut it down because so many people were trying to come into Hampton Beach. And I want you to take a look here. You can see how much of the roads are covered in water. It is still closed, and you can see why if you just take a look down the road here. The road is still covered in debris, the seawall kind of spilling into the road. And if you look down the road there at that second sign, you can see there's still flooded water sitting on the road.
I lost everything in one night.
The Waltham community heartbroken over the loss of police officer Paul Tracy and Roderick Jackson, who were tragically killed last night.
It's not an easy job for both of us, police and utility workers.
Prosecutors say Peter Simon was attempting to take a U-turn when he caused an accident with the car behind him. Trying to get away, he continued forward towards a National Grid worksite where Officer Tracy was on a detail and Roderick Jackson was working. Simon continued to swerve between work vehicles when he hit and killed the two victims.
We work hand in hand with those guys daily. We're there to protect them. We're on detail. Unfortunately, what happened yesterday, nobody saw it coming.
Prosecutors say Simon fled the scene and started banging on a nearby door and threatened an officer with a knife who had just arrived, stealing his police cruiser, which he later crashed after another high-speed chase. There, Simon was arrested.
Behind bars, he has a life. I don't have my son. He took our treasure chest. Unforgettable, unforgivable, unforgivable.
Anybody who knew him, his laughter, his compassion, it will be missed.
Now, their families left to navigate a life without those they love most.
Everybody forgets about him. We will remember. This is a nightmare that I'm living in.
He had plans and dreams. I mean, this is not what he was expecting to happen.
Staff Sergeant Tanner Groen didn't always have his sights set on the Army. It was after realizing that college wasn't the right fit and extensive research that he enlisted in July 2017.
It was scary.
His family says the Army changed him. They could see after his graduation that he carried himself differently.
He found his place.
He was a Black Hawk mechanic with the 160th Night Stalkers based out of Fort Campbell in Tennessee. His mom said he made fast friends with those around him, which was just his nature. He and his sister would have each other's back in a heartbeat, and he loved her husband like a brother. And his parents, they were so proud of the man he grew to be.
You don't really notice how good of a job you've done as a parent till all of a sudden they've done something.
On Saturday, they were out to dinner when they got a call from someone who said they were with the Army, who stressed they needed to speak with them immediately. They knew Tanner was deployed, so when they saw a soldier and a police officer at their door, they already knew.
We lost our perfect little family. Our perfect little family is no more.
Last week, Tanner told his parents that this would be his last deployment for a while. After it, he would start pilot school in Alabama.
It was his last deployment.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And today the family is traveling to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for the dignified transfer. They say the Army is handling all of the coordinating to bring him home here to New Hampshire. His funeral is on the 25th at Gorham High School. Well, Jamie, it really was a sight to see today. Dozens of people came out to show that these kinds of hateful messages will not be tolerated here in Portsmouth or in New Hampshire. The people participating telling me that today it was all about showing love for their neighbors.
I want to thank you all for being here today.
It was standing room only inside Cup of Joe Coffee Bar with a line out the door of people fed up over this week's acts of hate.
Frankly, I'm sick and tired of the way that our friends and neighbors are being treated. That's not what this community is about.
Tuesday morning, several businesses found swastikas and other graffiti spray painted on signs in their window, letting their customers know all are welcome inside. Cup of Joe Coffee Bar was one of the businesses defaced. Owner and assistant mayor to the city, Joanna Kelly, wanted to make sure the other places hit knew they were supported. In under 12 hours, Love Blooms Here was created.
So our goal really is to always outshine hate. We know that silence doesn't work. We need to be more vocal than they are.
Dozens of people hand-delivered flowers to the businesses. Macro Polo was one of the shops, overwhelmed with the support from strangers.
It's warmed my heart. I love it. The community is coming together so great and showing their support. It's amazing.
This is who Portsmouth really is, and these hateful people that want to come to our community and try to say that we're something different, they're not going to be successful.
It took just 45 minutes to empty the bins, serving as a visual representation that hate will not be tolerated in the city.
We're here to say that hatred is not welcome in any sense toward anyone. Love will always win.
Now, I was able to check in with police today to see where we are with the investigation. They say it is active, it is ongoing, and they are thoroughly looking into who is behind these hateful acts.
Crazy is pretty much an understatement.
Roads closed or roads being filled. That's what you'll find throughout the Barnstead community today and the foreseeable future.
I have approximately 94.5 miles of road, and I have 94.5 miles of washouts.
It was an all-hands-on-deck day that continues today, with a priority of getting to the roads that are completely impassable, leaving people stranded on the other side.
It's not going to be an easy fix. This is going to take months to get them back to normal.
But the washouts weren't the worst of it. Around 8 last night, a call into dispatch for a 16-year-old in the Suncook River, coming up on the Parade Dam.
He was being what a boy is, trying to save his dog.
He was in a kayak searching for his pup before going over the dam, rapids waiting for him on the other side. Barnstead fire and police crews worked together to pull the boy to the side of the dam using a throw bag from the officer's cruiser.
Right as he let go of the rope, I was able to lock onto his swim shorts, and I was able to roll him up. He was a very, very lucky kid.
Several police officers lined State Street here in Concord this morning. The road blocked to travelers, rifles in hand. After a call came in, there was a shooter inside the school.
My understanding is we were the first jurisdiction to get the hoax call.
Deputy Chief John Thomas says the call came in before 10 a.m. that there was an active shooter inside St. John's Regional School. The caller claimed to be inside and that students had been shot.
Officers were on scene in less than 2 minutes.
When police arrived, there was no answer at the door, and they assumed the school was in lockdown. When they forced their way in, no students or staff to be found.
Today is the feast of the Immaculate Conception, so it is is a mass day.
The students and staff inside the church next door with no idea the threat was made in the first place. After Superintendent of Catholic Schools Dave Tebow was made aware of the situation, he says students were patient and calm as they waited to be reunited with their parents.
We can't be thankful enough.
Back inside the school, Deputy Chief Thomas says they learned of other calls made around the state and deemed the calls were a hoax. Parents telling us the whole situation was traumatic, but they're grateful everyone was okay. As for the investigation into who made the calls, police say it's ongoing, but it was likely a spoofed call with a fake phone number.
Unfortunately, this disrupts schools all over the state. It disrupts, public services. It's unfortunate, but it's a happy ending.
The colors and the shapes, it's become a beautiful art piece in Portsmouth.
Big locks, small locks, colorful locks, or plain line the fence at Prescott Park, each one close to the heart of the person who placed it there.
People from all over the world, all over the country, have come up and put a lock on this fence.
It is this incredibly charming, silent, conspiratory expression of love that this community has come together to create.
Love locks can be found in cities all across the world. They started showing up here in Portsmouth in 2014 as a community art installation. The idea behind the locks is you put you and your loved one's initials on it, lock it to a fence, and toss away the key as a symbol of unbreakable love. But the city looking to break that bond out of an abundance of caution.
It's next to the third swiftest river in the country, so if the fence fell over, that's a really big deal.
Before the pandemic, the city would periodically remove the locks to manage that added weight, but that's when there was far fewer locks.
I'm sure we'll come up with something better than what it is now, so that's always great when we can make improvements.
If the locks must come down, the Seacoast Repertory Theater has asked to repurpose them for their upcoming musical, and after that, they would be added to the garden as an art piece.
Where the city can still love it and use it and respect it, and the people who put their love locks there can visit it.
Just says that you want the locks to stay there.
David Fine wants the locks to stay put. In a week, he's gotten 500 signatures from people who feel the same.
No way, over my dead body. Anything I can do, I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And the petition will stay here in Prescott Park until next week when David plans to present it to City Council. Well, Wyatt is a spunky little kid, and his whole life his parents have made sure he knows he can conquer anything that he puts his mind to. And on September 9th, he gets to share what it is that makes him so special on one of the world's largest stages.
Bye.
The Ketchells have been blessed with many miracles, but the one they're most grateful for is their 5-year-old son, Wyatt.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Wyatt is just like any other kid. He loves to play, is kind to everyone he meets, news reporters included, but what makes him so special comes down to 3 copies of the 21st chromosome. Those 3 copies are what creates Down syndrome. And to celebrate World Down Syndrome Day this year, Massachusetts-based photographer Jessica Morgan offered the Ketchells a free photo shoot.
And they do a worldwide call for submissions.
That picture was one of 2,400 pictures entered to represent the Down syndrome community on the big screen in the Big Apple. Put on by the National Down Syndrome Society to show everyone what the faces of Down syndrome looks like.
Show the world that people with Down syndrome have no limits, just like anyone else, and they can accomplish and be anything that they want to be.
Those photos narrowed down to 500, and Wyatt is the only one selected from the Granite State.
Seeing Wyatt in Times Square in front of the whole world, I think will show the whole world what we get to see every day.
It's an honor he and his family take pride in.
I think the most important thing is to be able to share how extraordinary Wyatt and all of his friends are.
Their hope is that by seeing faces like Wyatt's on a loop, in one of the world's most visited places, will help people understand how wonderful it is to love and to be loved by someone with Down syndrome. In Hampton Falls, Kelly O'Brien, WMUR News 9.